I'm Amy Cherry. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, here to wow ya. Flagler County has its first confirmed case of coronavirus. The county's first patient is a 72-year-old woman. It's unclear whether her COVID-19 case is tied to travel. Flagler County Health Officer Bob Snyder says they're working on getting more COVID-19 tests.
We know that because testing capacity and capability is being addressed and is growing in the state of Florida, including our county. We can expect more positive cases to surface during this week, and we hope and pray that it is minimal.
At least 4 dozen county residents have tested negative for the respiratory virus. Snyder continues to stress good hygiene, including hand washing for more than 30 seconds, as well as social distancing. If you're sick,
please do not hesitate to self-isolate at home. Contact your primary care physician and or the health department. So we want to make sure that you stay safe and do not infect others.
Statewide, the Florida Health Department says we now have more than 1,000 cases of coronavirus and 11 deaths. More than 11,000 Floridians have tested negative for the virus. Local health authorities have spelled out the criteria for COVID-19 testing. John Arking has the details.
The Florida Department of Health Flagler got its first shipment of 100 test sampling kits last Thursday. And Flagler Health Officer Bob Snyder says there are specific guidelines for who is eligible to be tested. He says, first of all, patients need to exhibit clinical symptoms of acute lower respiratory illness. That would include fever, cough, and shortness of breath, along with one or more of the following criteria.
Number 1, persons who have had a close contact with a laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 case. Number 2, persons hospitalized with acute lower respiratory illness of unknown origin. Number 3, history of travel to or from an affected geographic area with widespread community transmission. 4, history of international travel or being on a cruise. 5, you're over the age of 65 with chronic health conditions. And 6, you're immunocompromised. And so any of those 6 criteria, in addition to having the clinical symptoms, you are eligible and you meet the screening criteria for COVID-19.
For those who meet the criteria, then Snyder says you need to go to either your primary care physician, an urgent care center, Azalea Health, or the Flagler Health Department, and there you'll be screened and interviewed to make sure you'll be tested for COVID-19. For WNZF News, I'm John Arkin.
Restrictions on the way we live our lives are starting to happen in Flagler County tied to the COVID-19 outbreak. Gyms have closed and restaurants are now limited to carry-out or delivery only. With more, here's Tony Magoo.
An executive order has been given by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that will have an effect on almost all of us here in Flagler County. With us this morning is Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley.
All Florida restaurants and food establishments must suspend on-premises food and alcohol consumption for customers.
What can happen to anyone caught disobeying that order?
If you violate an executive order, you are committing a second-degree misdemeanor.
There's an option available for customers. Kitchens may operate for the purpose of providing delivery or takeout services. Alcohol sales to go with food that is picked up or delivered will be permitted, but you will have to provide ID for orders, including alcohol sales. Additionally, the executive order requires the closure of gymnasiums and fitness centers with limited extensions.
I ask that all affected businesses comply immediately. Let's not make things worse by losing your license or being given a notice to appear for violating the governor's order.
For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Tony Magoo.
And I hate it during spring break.
But it's the new COVID-19 reality. Flagler Beach, the boardwalk, and the pier are all officially closed as of 6 a.m. this morning. City Manager Larry Newsom.
We're not out to arrest people. It's not martial law. I've said that before over and over again. But we are going to let people know they need to get off the beach. Because, what are you going to do? Are you going to arrest people and put them in a jail in a confined space? Well, I think that'd be absolutely ridiculous. But if anybody wants to take advantage of that and think we're not going to arrest people if they're doing something majorly wrong, I can promise you this, my police department, the sheriff's department will arrest you.
Newsom tells WNZF they're working on signage to show that beaches are closed. He says beachside parking will also be roped off.
And truly, I hope it's only going to be like a 2, maybe 3 week thing. But we all have to be responsible on this. Because the whole point is to keep this virus from spreading.
In addition to Flagler Beach being closed, the county has shuttered all of its beaches as well, effective at 6 a.m. this morning. An emergency order was signed into law by County Administrator Jerry Cameron Sunday. If you have questions related to COVID-19, you're urged to call the county's hotline at 866-779-6121.
Based on the Flagler County Emergency Management Office's recent decision to close all beaches, the city of Palm Coast is closing all parks and trails in conjunction with this order to help limit the spread of COVID-19. The city said via a press release, for the utmost safety of our community, the closure is necessary for all parks and trails until further notice to support social distancing. Visit Palm Coast Connect for the latest updates and content from Parks and Rec. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Rich Carroll. What is the future of Mednex in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic?
Republican Representative Paul Renner, who represents Flagler, St. Johns, Putnam, and northern Volusia counties as the 24th district, says that the University of North Florida project that could bring several forms of medicine and education to Palm Coast could be put on hold.
We may be looking at billions of dollars in shortfall over the coming months as a result of what amounts to a economic shutdown. This Mednex program, which, while we're on the topic, I would certainly argue that we try to keep it because it relates to those below the doctor level, nurses and below.
Renner said that with the coronavirus affecting so many and with Flagler County's aging population, the nurses and respiratory therapists could be needed to treat the patients. He did warn, though, that the money for Mednex is new money and it could be cut from the budget for something else. There's a lot more in the interview, so if you want to hear the entire thing, download the Flagler Radio app and then go to the Free for All Friday podcast. Tomorrow, can Florida still have a balanced budget during the crisis? From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Amy Cherry.